Number 5 is that it exposes you to the feeling of a fight. Unlike a lot of different styles of martial arts, Jujitsu, right from the very beginning, first class, fresh off the street, no experience. And this is the reality of most schools, right? First class, no experience, fresh off the street. The model of a jiu-jitsu class is you go in, you warm up, you might do a little bit of light stretching, you go through some of the beginner preliminary moves. Your instructor might show you 1, 2, or 3 moves that you guys are going to be working on for that day. They're going to explain it. They're going to ask if anyone has questions, and then right then, all right, partner up, let's get at it. And you're applying these techniques. Some of these techniques, 3 or 4 steps to the technique, right? You're doing this with another person. You're applying that choke. You're trying to pass that guard. You're doing all of the things that are required for you to get into the position to either apply or defend. And at the white belt level, at the beginner level, most people, because of what they've seen on television or what they've watched on YouTube, the natural competitive drive that's in most of us men, when you're watching that lower level white belt level, people are going absolutely insane, right? It's called spazzing. And you see this, the level of resistance that you get from people. Now, in a normal class that has maybe 15 to 20 people on the mat, you're going to go through, 2 to 3 minutes where you're in the defensive position, and then you're going to switch. And after you've both had an opportunity to be on defense, you've both had an opportunity to try and be on the offensive, you're going to switch and go to another partner. So if you have a class of 15, 20 people, you're getting an opportunity to work with people of different sizes, of different strengths, right? Of different levels of aggression. Now, how is this important to private security? Because we don't know the level of skill, the type of person, the size of the person that we're going to be dealing with. And then when you go to that first class, right off the bat, you're put in a situation where you're in a hands-on situation with 7 to 8 different people. Where else can you get that type of experience and that type of repetition? So it's exposing you to the feeling of the fight. Now, if you're like me and you're getting old, if you're 45, 50, you remember what it was like when we were kids to actually be on the playground, to have to defend yourself from someone. You remember what it was like in middle school or high school. You had a problem with somebody. You guys went out back after class or after school, right? That's not the reality for people who are, in this younger generation, this younger demographic, right? People that were born in the 90s, people that were born in the early 2000s, they're not used to handling conflict in a physical way. It's just not acceptable in today's society. So what does that do for a security guard? You put a security guard in a situation where now he's challenged, where now he has to potentially defend himself. And what's the first thing he's going to do? He's going to reach for that firearm because he's not used to being in a fight. He doesn't know what he can do in that situation. So it is such a great thing to be placed in that environment where you can feel what it's like. Hey, I just got taken to the ground. Someone just mounted me. Someone is trying to choke me out. Someone's trying to separate my arms, get a hold of my arm or my shoulder. Someone's trying to leg lock me. And you know what? I'm okay. I didn't die. Right? And in those situations, that could be so valuable for security guards to not automatically go for their firearm. And I think that this is something that needs to be instituted across all of the training for private security, right? Number 4, it teaches you to control your energy and actions. If you've ever rolled a 2-minute roll with someone who's actively trying to either pass your guard, trying to mount you, trying to submit you, you can spaz all you want, but you're only going to be able to do that for so long. And by the time you get to that second roll, that third roll, that fourth roll, you're gassed. Guys, I was absolutely like, I could see the Grim Reaper like looking at me from the bleachers, and he was going, yeah, great job. Keep it up. Like, I can't wait to take you with me. I thought I was going to fucking die, but it gives you an opportunity to understand how important it is to control your energy and your actions. You just can't flail. You just can't, try and bench press your way out of everything. You can't put 110% into every action that you're making when you're in a resistive, combative situation with someone. And that's great for private security. Oh my God, that is fucking awesome. To be able to understand how to control your energy, control your actions when you're in a situation where maybe you're being pressed, maybe you're being tested, maybe someone is about to cross that line. Understanding that you can't just go full send in that moment because you've been trained in an environment where you don't go full send every single time. That is something that is invaluable to private security. Number 3, it raises your confidence in protecting yourself. I believe his name is Sam. This is when I first started over at 10th Planet. This was years ago. He has his own gym now out in Tigard, Oregon. And one of the first classes that I ever went to, he said, look, Jiu-Jitsu is different than everything else. After you leave here tonight, if you were to walk out of this school and onto the street and a crackhead were to come up behind you, you could apply the 3 things that we're showing you tonight. It's not like any other martial art where you're going through technique, you're going through kata, you're going through theory, you're watching a lot of demonstration. No, tonight, when you walk out of this class, you're going to be 15% better than you were today. And you're going to have an understanding of what it's like to feel like you're being choked. You're going to have a better understanding of what it's like to have someone's weight on you. You're going to have a better understanding of what it feels like to be taken down to the ground, what it feels like to slam your knees into the floor. All of the things that the average person who does not do this, they do not know what that feels like. And that leads to a fear of getting involved in a physical confrontation. When you go through these classes, when you allow yourself to go through training, you allow yourself to be on the defensive, you allow yourself to be in a compromising position where someone else is trying to do harm in a training sense, right? But just understanding that feeling, it gives you a better air of confidence in being able to protect yourself, knowing that, hey, look, I can handle myself if it gets to this point. Now, that's all said within reason. I don't want anyone to think that you can go to one class and then all of a sudden you're a badass. What I'm saying is that if we were to incorporate this across the board, if we could incorporate this into the base level of security, I think we would have a huge difference in how these officers handle themselves, how they carry themselves. A lot of the training that we talk about when it comes to private security, we're talking about advanced level training, right? CQB, firearms training, things like that, medical training. But at the very base, just giving people the ability to feel more comfortable and confident in themselves, I think would make the biggest change in the private security sector. Number 2, your view, or whether or not you view violence from a position of strategy. When you're doing jujitsu, whether you're doing jujitsu or wrestling or any type of martial arts, guys, you're not just out there violently flailing your body around. That might work once. If you're lucky, it might work twice. But in a situation where you're dealing with people who can actually handle themselves, people that can actually fight, you have to start working from more of a position of strategy. I think that to have security guards who approach everything about our job, everything about our profession, from a position of the strategical action. When you're making a decision to interact with someone, what is the best way to go about this? Should you say the thing that you're thinking about saying? Should you do something where potentially you're being video recorded? Should you put yourself in a situation where you're legally and civilly liable? That's all strategic, right? And when you're going through the paces in a jiu-jitsu environment, everything that you're doing becomes more strategic. Because again, you can't go full send, you can't flail your body around, you can't get frustrated and just punch someone because they're going to fuck you up, right? So you start operating from more of a position of strategy, and that I think could have a great benefit to the security industry. Number 1 is that it humbles you. Boy, does it humble you. Guys, I'm 270 pounds. I'm 6'1". I'm a big guy. I'm not bragging. I'm a pretty strong guy. and I get my ass absolutely handed to me anytime that I've gone into a jiu-jitsu school. And understanding that people that are smaller than me, people that are far less athletic than I am, people that are weaker than I am, understanding that in the right environment, under the right circumstances, they can hand me my ass. Seeing people that look like the math teacher from some high school, knowing that that guy is a black belt, seeing someone that's overweight and looks like they can't, pull themselves out of bed, but that guy's a purple belt, and watching what he does on the mat, that humbles you. And if anything, in the private security industry, we need a better understanding that the people that we're interacting with, we don't know who they are. I see security guards all the time talking shit to people as they're walking them out of the store, as they're walking them out of the retail environment, as they're walking them out of a garage or a warehouse. And I'm thinking to myself, you don't know who that person is. You don't know who that person is in a society standpoint. That could be some senator, that could be some congressman, that could be, the wife or the son or the daughter of some major corporation or business that could absolutely turn your situation upside down. That could also be a former veteran. That could also be someone who has a purple belt or a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and you putting yourself in a situation where you're challenging this person that might not be the best thing for you. So going through a class or going through a session or a camp or a clinic where you start to see people from all types of different walks of lives. Females, the class that I took on Thursday was taught by two females that could not have been over the age of 22 or 23. They were young, but these are competitive fighters, and they were absolute sharks. Absolute sharks. You think people misunderstand who they're dealing with when they're dealing with these people on the street? Do you think that they underestimate the ability of these competitive purple or brown belt jiu-jitsu fighters that just happen to look like the run-of-the-mill college female? It humbles you guys, and that is a great thing. If we can do all of these things, put ourselves in situations where we understand what it feels like to be in an environment where we're in a hands-on situation, we can understand what it's like to operate from a position of strategy as opposed to always going full send, right? If we can think about the confidence that we have by knowing that we were able to survive these situations. And as a white belt, as someone who's new to it, most of what you're going to be doing is just trying to survive, right? And then also being humble enough to know that just because you have on the uniform and the equipment and the firearm, that doesn't mean that you're running shit. Be careful how you talk to people. Be careful how you approach people. Be careful with how you decide to go hands-on if that's the case. And know that you don't know who that person is. You don't know who they are. You don't know what they have. And more than anything else, you don't know the lengths to which they are willing to go. We have seen in the past 6 months, multiple situations. I can think of the situation that happened in Ferguson, Missouri, where the security guard gets into it with the person. That person comes back, they get into a shootout. We had the Macy's situation that happened a couple of months ago where they remove a person for shoplifting. He comes back and he stabs up 2 security guards, killing one of them. We are living in a time where people are not playing around. So it is important for us to train and get into a situation where we are in better shape, where we're more confident. But at the same time, all of that has to be tempered with an air of humbleness. Because what I don't want is for any of you, me included, to put ourselves in a situation where we allow ourselves to get harmed or hurt because we're a little bit too egotistical.